If measured, the temperature on the toes is the lowest temperature generally of any part of the body.
Week 2, or is it week 3? The deep, dank depths. We Gravelord in. Yes! Hello. We're continuing with my PC character. Since last time, I've journeyed onwards through the Undead Parish, cleared out the gargoyles, and met up with Oswald, the NPC with the greatest laugh in the game. I had unlocked a lightning spear from the Sunlight Covenant near the Hellkite Bridge. You need 25 faith to join the Covenant, but this faith requirement is lowered by 5 each time you engage in Jolly Cooperation. So I helped 1 or 2 people defeat the Taurus Demon, and that lowered the requirement enough for me to get in. Now it's 20 faith to actually cast the spears, which I was obviously happy to make that investment because I'm making a faith build. I plan to go up to 30 faith anyway, and maybe even higher eventually. These spears are amazingly good at low levels, by the way. You'll see them in action a bit later. Aside from that, I've lost the recordings annoyingly, but basically I've cleared the entire catacombs area and half of the Tomb of the Giants. If you get to a certain point in the Tomb of the Giants, you realise you can't go any further through it until you beat Anolondo and you get the Lord Vessel. But you can actually join the Gravelord Covenant early if you want to. And since Gravelording is an absolute blast to do at the moment, that's what I did. I'm now a Gravelord. I also went through the catacombs to acquire Tranquil Walk of Peace and Wrath of the Gods, because let's be honest, best miracle. I didn't even get to use it for a while because of the high faith requirement, but it's fine. We'll be unleashing the gods soon enough. At least we have Zeus for now. That more or less brings us to the rat-infested, slime-infested depths, where the cursed corpses of unlucky players watch you from the darkness. I am holding a gargoyle's tail, this is true. It fell off the gargoyle boss, and you know, thought it looked quite cool. Not many people use it was the main reason. In hindsight, it was a terrible idea for this location, but hey, it's bendy. Special announcement, yes, I also went and bought the dried finger item, which you now get from the undead merchant. It's moved. It used to be in the painted world, and now it's right at the start of the game. This is important because using it increases the player limit in your world from 4 to 6, so with this you'll be able to summon up to 3 players and get invaded by more also. So back in the depths, I see someone else had a similar idea to me. We have a fellow Gravelord Covenant member in the depths, so I decided to invade him first and see how he's doing it. Maybe I could get a few tips before I give it a go, because I've never Gravelorded before. Right, well, that didn't fill me with confidence, I have to admit. It was not the most inspiring display of Gravelord skill I've ever seen. This was a clear case of someone using an Eye of Death and everything falling apart very quickly. Thankfully, I learnt from his mistakes, so I was much more prepared. Okay, so my plan is I've got lightning spears, and I'm not going to lie, that's the only thing I'm relying on. Oh no, I've just had 2 come at once. Oh, that's 3. Oh no. Okay, I don't know why I did this actually. The more I think about it, this was a pretty dumb plan. Okay, that worked. Wow, these guys are really overpowered. What the hell? What? Well, we've now confirmed, if you stay out in the open next to a very busy bonfire, a ton of players will instantly swarm you looking for vengeance, so maybe don't do that. I figured out a very good plan in the end. Before that though, you gotta understand, in my last Gravelord video you saw Gravelords being really smart and sneaky, getting loads of kills with barely any effort. I feel like a lot of people could do what I did and join this covenant and then get a bit disappointed when their experience doesn't match up with that. At the end of the day, using this covenant is asking to get ganked as hard as possible by multiple players who are at no risk, with no help whatsoever, so just keep that in mind. I initially tried to do this with my build setup, so the lightning spears synergized really well with the watery depths. There was plenty of potential areas for the electricity to disperse in a wide area of effect. I also tried to funnel my opponents one by one through the tiny sewer tunnels. Often this worked, but only for a limited period of time. There's only so long you can outsmart your opponents before they figure out a way around things, right? These are Dark Souls players. One thing this game does teach you is how to overcome obstacles, so they often circled round and came at me from behind. So despite what it may seem, the depths are actually a Gravelord's playground. It's not a bad area for this. You can farm humanity from rats, which you'll need to maintain human form. You can't Gravelord if you want human. And the additional item you need are Eyes of Death, which you can also farm from the basilisks in the depths. How convenient. So everything you need is here. In terms of being successful though, I kept getting 1 or 2 kills here and there per Eye of Death, I'd say, before quickly becoming overwhelmed. If you don't have a good way to kill people very fast, then your opponents will stack up, and seeing as how Gravelords have to operate alone, you can't summon any help, you can only rely on yourself. But fear not people, I found a solution. You either have to play very smart, we saw a lot of that in the last video, or I found you can play very aggressive. My build has all the glorious limitations of a low level build, right? It makes it fun, you got to work with what you have, there's no 10-second fights. I'm around level 30, my best weapon is a +3, something like that, Gargoyle Tail Axe. My lightning spears are pretty good comparatively, but they cast too slow, because of course I don't have a high dexterity level yet. If you didn't know, your casting speed is increased when you upgrade dexterity, but that speeding up only happens between the levels of 35 and 45 dexterity. So if you have 45 dexterity, you'll have the fastest casting speed, which I'm obviously nowhere near that. I was like 20 dex.
Hello there.
On the topic of that, since we mentioned my +3 weapon, let's briefly talk about a big change in the remaster. Overall, you need to understand that matchmaking has been changed, so there's still the soul level matchmaking aspect, but you're also matched with players who have weapons of a similar strength to you. This is for both co-op and invasions. Here's a chart. These are all of the upgrade paths that are factored into this matchmaking, including your pyromancy flame. Things like armor upgrades and all the other stuff don't count. Where this gets potentially confusing, and I've seen a few people ask about this, is the different upgrade paths aren't directly comparable. Most weapons will follow the normal Titanite upgrade path, and that goes up to +15, whereas unique weapons and Chaos Lightning, Occult, Crystal and Enchanted only go up to +5. Pyromancy Flame goes to +15, and then it can be ascended in a secondary upgrade path to a +5 Ascended Pyromancy Flame. And then finally, Fire, Divine and Magic upgrade paths cap out at +10. So of course these different upgrade paths need to be compared in terms of relative strength, because you can't directly compare numbers here. An unupgraded Black Knight Sword is infinitely more powerful than an unupgraded standard weapon, let's say a longsword. So with the system, that's taken into consideration. So now normal standard weapons on the Titanite path are simple. It starts at 5 up, 5 down, and ends at 6 up, 6 down. So if you have a +5 standard weapon, you can connect with players who have a +0 weapon, 5 levels below you, all the way up to a +11 weapon, 6 levels above you. To work it out for the other paths, all you have to bear in mind is since they're initially stronger, if you even pick up a unique weapon, it will be the equivalent of having a +5 standard weapon. This is roughly how it works. You don't actually need to get too caught up in these numbers. I guess the only thing that matters is what people are recommending for maximum connectivity is to only go up to +5 in the first area, go to +11 normal upgrade or equivalent in the mid game, and begin to start maxing out your upgrades once you get to Anor Londo. It's honestly not a huge deal. It's a rough guide just to give you a general sense of what people might be doing. But just remember, hiding weapons in your bottomless box or throwing away weapons won't work. Once you've owned a weapon with a high upgrade, that's what will be used for matchmaking. Right, hope you enjoyed your lessons today, class. Now back to Gravelording in the depths. For my eventual success, I went super aggressive. I used a bit more common sense at the same time. I decided as soon as someone invaded, I would gently apply devastation. I dropped it all on them straight away. I prioritised a few backstabs first because that's the best method to get your opponent to panic. It also hides the fact that my damage output is pathetic. If I just R1 spammed, it would take so long to kill them that they'd realise I'm kind of bluffing. I'm essentially using aggression to mask the fact that I'm weak. Does that make sense? I mean, it worked. People were coming in one at a time and simply weren't prepared. I'd suggest try standing here, basically block off their line of sight, but be close enough to the spawn point that you can rush in quickly. So they won't see you when they come in, so they relax their guard, and that's when you strike. There's actually a second advantage to hiding in just off to the side in this hidden-ish area, and that is your Gravelord sign won't be in an obvious location. So I stopped staying out in open spaces too long. This was a huge mistake I realised I was making. It's obvious when you think about it. If you stand in really accessible areas for too long, everyone's going to find your sign when they're just going through the level like normal, and they'll invade you instantly. Because that's the thing, if you get Gravelorded and you invade the Gravelord, there's no risk to you. Even if you die, you lose nothing. You don't even lose human form. So I find it's best to stay in the shadows, as it were. Basically, stay in the quieter areas so not as many people can find your sign, or quickly go from the secret areas to the busy, obvious locations and then go right back before your sign is visible for too long. This worked for me. It was the only thing that did, to be honest. I got like 5 or 6 kills in a row before I moved on. I always try to summon 1 or 2 people who look like beginners for bosses, because I know people try to farm souls and sunlight medals this way. But frankly, it normally ends up like this, with me completely alone facing a boss with a bonus 200% health increase. Blighttown was next. I cleared it out. No deaths, I believe. It was much easier than I remember this time, but maybe it's just because the frame rate is on point now. No slideshows here anymore. I was actually able to just appreciate the area design. I'm also genuinely unlucky with summons, I found out. Is it just me? At this point, it really feels like I'm just summoning people to see how they'll die in entertaining ways. In fact, when I made the run to Quelaag with 2 summons, we got obliterated by an invader who had freaking Quelaag's Fury Sword, which I'm surprised I got matched with. That's a unique weapon, so he must have been just on the upper ranges of our weapon matchmaking. Anyway, I forgot how easy Quelaag was too. You just stand right in front of her. Easy peasy, no worries. And then it was bell ringing time. I rang both the upper and lower bells at this point, which gives us access to Sen's Fortress, which is where the weapon I want to use on this character is located. This is also the point in the game where we have, I think, the best plot twist, the huge betrayal at Firelink, where my Firekeeper is killed. I won't say who did it, just in case any new players are watching, but yeah man, when this happened in my first playthrough, I was shooketh, as the kids say. Rhea of Thorolund has passed away as well, the priestess that you save from the catacombs. I bought Wrath of the Gods from her before she died. Sen's Funhouse, extremely fun area. This location really is a playground. I'm definitely going to be invading and gravelording this spot, that's a guarantee. However, my actual goal here, I can finally reveal, was to defeat Undead Prince Rickard. He's an Asturian prince wearing the Elite Knight set and buckler with a longbow, and most importantly, Rickard's rapier. That's the weapon he drops, and that's the weapon I want to use. So I was focusing on trying to get a bit of footage of his moveset. I thought he could give a nice demonstration of his weapon, and it resulted in this. Oh, that's funny, double death, haha. Well no, it's not funny, it's very serious. Turns out, because we both died simultaneously, the game glitched and he didn't drop his weapon. Wasn't in my inventory, didn't drop on the stairs, and he was nowhere to be found. My build was planned around this dexterity weapon, and I get brutally denied. I guess the moral of the story is, you gotta rely on friends sometimes. Big thanks to Not a Cactus for being a hero I truly needed but didn't deserve. Next time, we'll be getting the best miracle in the game. I don't think I need to tell you what that might be, and then our build will be complete, more or less. Thanks for watching, see you soon.